Friends, this weekend we celebrate the great gift of the most holy body and blood of Christ. In receiving the Eucharist, we become one with Jesus. That is to say, we are in communion with him, or oneness with him. And through that, in communion with the most holy Trinity, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, who are themselves a communion or oneness of persons. When we receive communion, we're not only in communion or oneness with God, but we're also in oneness with the whole church. The church around the world, all the members of the body of Christ around the world, the church in heaven, and the church awaiting entrance into heaven, the souls in purgatory. That oneness or communion is what emanates from God himself, the communion of the most holy Trinity, that God is a communion of persons. And that oneness was really the reason why a few years ago we chose to take the name One Catholic, or the One Catholic Community. It's emphasizing that unity, communion, oneness, that is an intrinsic mark of the church. We say during the Creed, I believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. It's a very important word. There's three divine persons in one co-eternal God, right? One eternal God. And when we receive Holy Communion, we're made one with God. And so the whole life of the church is bound up in that, no pun intended, oneness that is a characteristic of the life of the church and of God himself. And so that's why we really focused on that. Of course, one for One Catholic comes from Orleans, Niagara East, which, as some of you know, isn't the normal way to pronounce it. It's normally pronounced Eastern Niagara Orleans. But I thought that the Eno Catholic community would be a little weird. And it made more sense to use it in the way that we use it, which is to emphasize this unity and oneness. Even our logo, the logo of our family of parish is a classic trefoil image of the Trinity. Three circles that interlock to reveal the oneness or communion that is the life and love of God and of us in him and with him. Now, over the next couple of weeks, and in a very practical and positive way, we're going to be focusing on strengthening this unity and oneness and communion of faith that we have with God and in and through the life of our parishes and with those who've gone before us, and thinking of those who will come after, as all of our parishes in the One Catholic community conduct a special initiative of stewardship of treasure in the form of an increased offertory campaign. And I want to introduce this effort to you today. And firstly, I want to thank everybody for being a part of our amazing One Catholic community. Our three parishes, Holy Family, St. Mary's, and Holy Trinity, are wonderful parishes with beautiful churches, rich histories, and faithful people across a 350 square mile region that we all know and love so well. We owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to those who came before us, whose sacrifices built these churches between 1895 and 1910, and over the generations labored to hand on the Catholic faith to us. And I want to thank everybody for continuing in that mission together as we work to build up our communities in the grace and life of Jesus Christ. Our mission is worth strengthening, protecting, and advancing. And I want to mention a few things at the outset. First, in the bulletin last week, there was a notice indicating that we're nearing the end of the diocesan bankruptcy process. The diocese has assured us very clearly that no additional parish funds beyond those that were already set aside a year ago will be asked of any parishes. Those funds that were set aside came from savings that predated the 2023-2024 fiscal year. And actually, the amount that was contributed from Holy Family Parish was reduced to the small number of around $20,000, which honestly, in the grand scheme of a $150 million settlement, is next to nothing, because we don't have a lot of money to give at this parish. And so this little is asked of those who have little, and more is asked of those who have more. But that process is coming to an end. And all contributions that we received since I've been here have only taken care of the day's business. nothing beyond that. And going forward, that is definitely the case. Everything people give supports our current mission and operations and ministries today. Second, this effort is a special stewardship of treasure initiative. Much like when we have a special stewardship of talent initiative. For example, about 6 weeks ago, I put a notice in the bulletin that we needed help with our cemeteries. I got an amazing response. Now we have like 44 people caring for our cemeteries across our family of parishes in their spare time. And it's made a huge difference. It was a huge response, especially from Holy Family when I made that plea. That was a special stewardship of talent initiative. I'm going to be doing another one of those because I need more altar servers across our parishes. Usually this is the only Mass we have kids serving. We want young people, kids serving at every Mass. So that's coming. But this is a special stewardship of treasure initiative, and we'll always have our annual stewardship renewals, our personal stewardship plan for the year in September. This is different from that in the sense that this is focused on making a commitment to increasing our giving, whereas our annual fall renewal is more simply about making a plan for the year ahead. Thirdly, our diocese asked us to pilot this effort. Most parishes throughout the diocese and New York State are struggling financially. All of them need to take this step that we're taking. In fact, the whole Diocese of Rochester last summer did the same thing. And our diocese entrusted to us to go first and to lead the way. As I shared in our annual report, it's important for us to do this. And then I gave out our annual report in the beginning of April or end of March, and I had State of the Parish meetings throughout the month of April. In those things, I emphasized and pointed out the need that our parishes are in. We've lost 3 churches in the last 3 years, in Linneville, Middleport, and Kendall, and we do not want to lose another parish or property, ever. We want to strengthen our parishes for generations to come. It's the Feast of Corpus Christi, the body and blood of Christ. You've probably heard me make this beautiful point, that the best thing that ever happened to Albion, New York, and its surrounding area, or Medina, New York, or Holly, New York, and its surrounding area, is that Jesus Christ, 165 years ago, came to dwell in the tabernacle in our town. And he has been here for us every day and every night since. It's the best thing that ever happened to our town. And the worst thing that could ever happen to our town would be to lose the presence of God himself, Jesus in the Eucharist, in our community. Since I arrived in 2023, we have significantly reduced our staffing. 5 priests 5 years ago to now 2. I think 5 secretaries to 1 part-time. 5 maintenance employees to 1. 3 pastoral employees to 1, and so on. Even so, we're still operating very close to or with deficits. Holy Family Parish, as I mentioned, Holy Family Parish has a deficit 8 months into this year of approximately $53,000, largely due to decreased offertory contributions from those who've passed away or those who've had to move to nursing homes or in their later years have moved out of the region. And also because of increased utility costs, which is everybody's favorite topic. and St. Mary's last year finished with a very small surplus, and Holy Trinity this year, apart from a generous bequest received from Bruno Piscini, is operating at a small deficit. And both St. Mary's and Holy Trinity in recent years have had surpluses, but they've relied on interest from investments to avoid deficits. And we know that reliance is always tenuous. At the same time, as we all know, costs continue to rise. Utilities, insurance, fuel, maintenance, employee wages. We're operating with a very small staff that to meet the needs of our 3 parishes and 6 cemeteries. And honestly, friends, I can't ask any more of them. I can't. Otherwise, I'm going to risk losing them. And so we need to get a little more help and have a few more people come aboard and work with us to accomplish everything we need to do. And so today, I'm asking our parishioners to prayerfully consider increasing their financial support so that together we can strengthen our parishes and confidently move forward in carrying out our mission. The theme of this campaign comes from Psalm 116, the words, "How can I repay the Lord for all the good he has done for me?" Those words, again, drawn from Psalm 116, remind us that God has been abundantly generous to us. These words are often sung at the ordinations of priests and deacons, speaking of which yesterday, Deacon C.J. Wild became Father C.J. Wild at St. Joseph's Cathedral. Many of you were there. Thanks to everybody. I think there was probably at least 70 people from One Catholic at that Mass yesterday. I was so impressed, so amazed and elated. But it's because everybody loves Deacon CJ, now Father CJ. And what a great priest he is. But often we sing at ordination masses, how can I repay the Lord for all the good he has done for me? The cup of salvation I will take up, and I will call upon the name of the Lord. That question, though, is for every disciple. How do I respond to God's generosity, who has given me everything really that I have? At the end of the homily, I'm going to have a brochure passed out to all of you, and you're also going to receive this brochure and some other materials in the mail in the next couple days with more details. This brochure highlights many of the good things happening throughout One Catholic, and I just want to mention a couple of them here. This past year, us priests, now just 2 priests, we're doing this year too, have celebrated for our 3 churches 1,238 masses. We have baptized 44 people. In the last year, we've had 46 people in the OCIA process, adults preparing to receive sacraments. We offer nearly 2,000 hours of Eucharistic adoration and over 400 hours of scheduled confessions annually. We assisted 16 families this year through the St. Gianna Molla Pregnancy Outreach Center and 19 families as of yesterday through our One Catholic Emergency Fund, and 113 families were assisted through our Christmas giving programs. We have 44 cemetery stewards caring for our sacred grounds. 338 parishioners completed a personal stewardship plan last fall. We make over 1,200 visits annually to the sick and homebound, not including our masses and visits to the nursing homes in our community. We have 146 kids in our English and Hispanic faith formation and sacramental preparation programs. 19 couples, including some at this Mass, have been or will be married between last May and this coming Christmas. In this past year, we hosted 3 parish missions and celebrated 3 full Easter Triduums in 2 languages with attendance numbers far exceeding recent years. And perhaps most beautiful of all, we're seeing many young people, young adults and families, coming to the practice of the faith, which I'm so edified by, and we're all so grateful to the young people for embracing their faith. I see so many more parents bringing their kids for baptisms, and we have young men like Joseph Basanti, who 2 years ago came to me and asked me in his senior year of high school if he could enter the church and receive the sacraments. And we didn't have an OCIA program at the time, so I prepped Joe one-on-one with his mom present for all his classes. After his senior year ended, he received all the sacraments, and now he's serving in the U.S. Army and is in regular contact with Deacon Father CJ and myself about his future and the call of the Lord in his life. And Dylan Mazarowski, who's going to be married in Medina later this year and is going to be completing his sacraments of initiation this fall. And Carl Bielingmeyer, who's going to be married this fall and receiving all of his sacraments before his wedding. We have Noah and Elena Neff, which I think of their relationship like a little bit of a One Catholic love story. Noah is from Lindenville originally, born and raised. Elena from Kendall. They met in high school, fell in love, got married a year ago, took up residence in Medina, started going to Mass every week, and fell in love with the Catholic faith. Bought a house in Kendall and joined St. Mary's in Holly. And on Memorial Day weekend, I baptized, confirmed, and gave First Holy Communion to that young husband and wife, at which time their marriage became a sacrament. And at the same Mass, I baptized their 1-month-old newborn baby, Evelyn. Almost unheard of for a Catholic priest to baptize mom, dad, and baby in the same Mass. Amazing. That same weekend, Memorial 14 other One Catholic parishioners, including a 46-year-old Hispanic woman whom I confirmed and gave First Holy Communion to under emergency circumstances in a hospital room where she lay dying on the evening of Memorial Day. We had the privilege of helping Father C.J. Wild during his diaconate year prepare for the priesthood in his last year of formation. And we have kids like Joshua Eid, who's over at the Children's Liturgy of the Word right now, a 12-year-old sixth grader. And there's other kids doing this too. Josh is a 12-year-old sixth grader who recently told Father Joseph and myself on separate occasions that he sees how much work needs to be done, and he wants, when he gets older, to become a priest. Now that might sound a little saccharine to you, but if you were at Father C.J. Wild's house last night, his party after his ordination, there's photos of him receiving the Altar Server of the Year award, and his priest at the time, Father Leon Burnett, putting the Roman collar in front of him when he's like 10 years old, when he told him he wanted to be a priest. It starts little sometimes. But Joshua told Father Joseph and myself that, and then the next week, on Thursday night during confessions, he brought a friend from school to church because he'd been speaking to his friend about his faith and convinced his friend to go to confession. Little did he know, the friend had not yet been baptized. Can't go to confession till you've been baptized. But the little boy came in with Josh, asking to go to confession. I told him I couldn't hear his confession yet, but I gave him a special blessing. And the little boy walked into the foyer of the church, got on the phone, and called his mom and said, "Mom, I want to receive the sacraments of the Catholic Church. Can you help me make it happen?" Joshua Eid, you are the man. I love it. Friends, God is doing beautiful things here. It's easy to overlook the blessings God gives us day by day, but the Lord is truly at work in our parishes. And not only has God blessed us spiritually, but generations of Catholics before us blessed us materially. How can we repay the Lord and them for all the good they have done for us? The three churches that today are part of the One Catholic community were built by faithful Catholics, Irish, German, Italian, Polish, and other immigrants who sacrificed tremendously so that the faith could flourish here long after they were gone. We received these three beautiful churches, the most beautiful buildings in Orleans County, and their campuses as a gift. We did not build them ourselves. We did not pay for them. They were handed on to us freely, given to us for free by people who loved God, loved the church, and believed future generations like ours mattered. And now, it's our turn. These churches are essential to our mission. They're ours to serve, ours to repair, and ours to use boldly with the boldness of Joshua Eid and others for the salvation of souls and bringing the gospel to others. We are called to hand on to the next generation especially, and the multiple generations that lay ahead, what we ourselves already freely received. These churches are essential to our mission. How can we repay the Lord for all the good he has done for us? Friends, it's an important moment for our family of parishes, about to emerge from the bankruptcy process. We're going to set our feet forward now. We have a strong mission and a vibrant community, but we need to support that mission so it can be solid and grow in the years ahead. God has been so generous to us. Those who came before us, so generous to us. Now we're called. My friend from Hilton, Father Joe Catanese, Diocese of Rochester, conducted this same program in his parish last summer. And when he did it, he told his parishes, confessed to his parishioners. He said, "I've been your pastor for, 15 years. When I came, I started giving at this level. I realized as I prepared for this that in 15 years, I've not increased my giving, even though I know better than anybody else how much things went up." They had an amazing response to their program there. In our family of parishes, where we emphasize a stewardship way of life, we encourage parishioners to tithe. The biblical notion of tithing, that is to give 10% of their income to charity, with at least half of that given to their parish. This is not simply about paying bills. It's about building up the mission of Christ and the kingdom of God in our community and in our world. In 2 days, you'll receive information in the mail introducing the program more fully, and right now, I invite these materials, these brochures, to be handed out. We'll give one to every adult who is here. So one for every adult who's here. And I ask everybody to carefully review these materials and prayerfully consider how you and your family can support Holy Family and the One Catholic mission through increased offertory giving. Our commitment weekend will take place next weekend, June 13th and 14th. You'll receive in the mail too a commitment card, and I'll have extras here if you forget it next week, but I invite each of you to bring a card to Mass or fill one out next weekend, as together we support and secure the mission in the future of our parishes. Our parishes are a great beacon of light in our communities, and I'm deeply grateful to serve as your pastor. Father Joe is deeply grateful to be here with us. Deacon CJ, now Father CJ, so grateful. And thank you, friends, for your prayers, your faith, and your generosity. God bless you.